This is Two Kinds on page 13 for reading class from the Joylat Club. Background. In 1949, following the years of civil war, the Communist Party seized control of China. A number of Chinese who feared communists, like the mother in Two Kinds, fled to the United States. Many lost everything except their hopes for a better future. They placed these hopes on the shoulders of their children born in the new land. My mother believed you could be anything you wanted to be in America. You could open a restaurant, you could work for the government and get a good retirement, you could buy a house with almost no money down, you could become rich, you could become instantly famous. Of course, you can be a prodigy too, my mother told me when I was 9. You can be best anything. What does Auntie Lindo know? Her daughter, she is only best tricky. America was where all my mother's hopes lay. She had come here in 1949 after losing everything in China, her mother and father, her family home, her first husband, and 2 daughters, twin baby girls. But she never looked back with regret. There were so many ways for things to get better. We didn't immediately pick the right kind of prodigy. At first, my mother thought I could be a Chinese Shirley Temple. We'd watch Shirley's old movies on TV as though they were training films. My mother would poke my arm and say, Nikon, you watch. And I would see Shirley tapping her feet or singing a sailor song or pursing her lips into a very round O while saying, oh my goodness. Nikon, said my mother as Shirley's eyes flooded with tears, you already know how. Don't need talent for crying. Soon after my mother got this idea about Shirley Temple, she took me to a beauty training school in the Mission District and put me in the hands of a student who could barely hold the scissors without shaking. Instead of getting big fat curls, I emerged with an uneven mass of crinkly black fuzz. My mother dragged me off to the bathroom and tried to wet down my hair. You look like Negro Chinese, she lamented, as if I had done this on purpose. And lamented means expressed regret. The instructor of the beauty training school had to lop off these soggy clumps to make my hair even again. Peter Pan is very popular these days, the instructor assured my mother. I now had hair the length of a boy's with straight across bangs that hung at a slant 2 inches above my eyebrows. I liked the haircut and it made me actually look forward to my future fame. In fact, in the beginning, I was just as excited as my mother, maybe even more so. I pictured this prodigy part of me as many different images, trying each one on for size. I was a dainty ballerina girl standing by the curtains, waiting to hear the right music that would send me floating on my tiptoes. I was like the Christ child lifted out of the straw manger, crying with holy indignity. Indignity is a feeling that one has been disrespected. I was Cinderella, stepping from her pumpkin carriage with sparkly cartoon music filling the air. In all of my imaginings, I was filled with a sense that I would soon become perfect. My mother and father would adore me. I would be beyond reproach, and reproach means criticism or disapproval. I would never feel the need to sulk for anything, but sometimes the prodigy in me became impatient. If you don't hurry up and get me out of here, I'm disappearing for good, it warned, and then you'll always be nothing. Every night after dinner, my mother and I would sit at the Formica kitchen table. She would present new tests, taking her examples from stories of amazing children that she read in Ripley's Believe It or Not, or Good Housekeeping, Reader's Digest, and a dozen other magazines she kept in our bathroom. My mother got these magazines from people whose houses she cleaned, and since she cleaned many houses each week, we had a great assortment. She would look through them all, searching for the stories about remarkable children. The first night, she brought out a story about a 3-year-old boy who knew the capitals of all the states and even most of the European countries. A teacher was quoted as saying the little boy could also pronounce the names of the foreign cities correctly. What's the capital of Finland? My mother asked me, looking at the magazine story. All I knew was the capital of California because Sacramento was the name of the street we lived on in Chinatown. Nairobi, I guess, saying the most foreign word I could think of. She checked to see if that was possibly one way to pronounce Helsinki before showing me the answer. The test got harder, multiplying numbers in my head, finding the Queen of Hearts in a deck of cards, trying to stand on my head without using my hands, predicting the daily temperatures in Los Angeles, New York, and London. One night I had to look at a page from the Bible for 3 minutes and then report everything I could remember. Now, Jehoshaphat had riches and honor and abundance, and that's all I remember, Mom, I said. After seeing my mother's disappointed face once again, something inside of me began to die. I hated the tests, the raised hopes and failed expectations. Before going to bed